Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we're jumping right in and taking a sweeping geographical tour to understand exactly how India's river systems act as the living, breathing lifeblood of the subcontinent. When you look at a map of India, you aren't just looking at land masses, you're seeing these massive veins of water that literally power life, agriculture, and civilization itself. We're going to break down how these incredible networks function, where they come from, and why they absolutely matter to every single person living in the region.
So here's our quick roadmap. We'll start with what a drainage system actually is, move on to the Himalayan river giants, check out the ancient peninsular rivers, compare how the two systems stack up, and wrap things up with lakes and our lifeline. Let's get to it.
What exactly is a drainage system? Now, when we talk about drainage, we aren't just talking about a single isolated blue line drawn on a map. Think of a drainage basin as a region's entire plumbing system. It's this vast, interconnected network where the main river, along with all of its little tributary branches, funnel water through the landscape in total unison. It's a complete team effort.
Moving right along to part 2, the Himalayan river giants.
First up is the mighty Indus River. This thing actually originates way up in the freezing, high-altitude expanses of Tibet. But here's the cool part. Its true geographical power, that comes from 5 very specific vital tributaries merging together. The Jhelum, the Chenab, the Ravi, the Bias, and the Sutlej. They literally pool their strength to create this absolute beast of a river system. Heading east, we've got the iconic Ganga river system. And just like the Indus, it gets its muscle from its own set of major tributaries, like the Yamuna, Gagara, Gandak, and Kosi. But here's why this is a real game changer for us. When these forces merge, they actively deposit incredibly rich soil. That creates the fertile plains that literally feed millions of people every single day.
And our third northern giant, the Brahmaputra, traces a pretty wild, dramatic path. It starts in Tibet, slices right through India and Bangladesh, and it has this crazy dual personality. On one hand, it causes these massive, destructive floods. But on the other, it leaves behind super rich alluvial soil. So it's constantly reshaping the earth it touches in real time.
All right, part 3, the ancient peninsular rivers. So, leaving those freezing altitudes behind and shifting down to the southern plateaus, we meet a much, much older network of rivers. We're talking the Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Mahanadi, Narmada, and Tapi. These ancient rivers have been steadily carving their way through hard, rocky terrain for millennia. Since they don't have glaciers feeding them, they provide a totally different, almost slower geographical rhythm that has shaped the South forever.
Which brings us to part 4, comparing the two systems.
Now, if we put these two aquatic titans head-to-head, it's a brilliant dichotomy. The Himalayan rivers, they're incredibly long, and they're perennial, meaning they flow all year round because they're constantly fed by melting glaciers. The peninsular rivers down south, though, they're noticeably shorter and strictly seasonal. They completely rely on the annual monsoon rains to get going. It's basically ice power versus rain power.
Finally, part 5, lakes and our lifeline.
We know rivers are always on the move, right? But eventually, all that rushing water needs a place to settle down. Along these paths, water finds a little peace in lakes. Sometimes, these are natural basins carved out by the earth itself. And sometimes they're artificial, engineered by human hands to capture and store this super precious resource.
And when we talk about the natural ones, we absolutely have to pause for a second and appreciate stunners like Wooler Lake and Chilika Lake. I mean, these aren't just bodies of water. They are breathtaking natural wonders. They act as these beautiful, vital resting stops within the massive drainage basin, and they support incredible local ecosystems along the way.
All right, so we've mapped out these sprawling, complex systems from the Tibetan glaciers all the way down to the southern plateaus. But let's take a step back here. What does this all mean? How do these massive geographical features actually translate to human survival on a daily basis? Why should we care? Well, it's simple. These aren't just abstract blue lines on a map. They are our lifelines. We're talking about essential drinking water. They fuel the vast irrigation networks that put food on millions of tables. They generate the hydroelectricity powering the device you're using right now. And they act as massive natural highways for transport. Literally every aspect of life on the subcontinent is tied to these networks. So as these waters completely power our present, from growing our food to lighting our homes, it leaves us with a pretty heavy, vital question. how are we going to protect this fragile, magnificent, top-down journey of water? Because making sure it keeps flowing is the only way to guarantee the continued progress of the nation for generations to come. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.